The concept of Sunnah in the Muwatta of Malik ibn Anas by Mohammed Yusuf Guraya, Mcgill University, 1969. To this criticism and analysis of Shafi'i and Rabi frankly admits that his statement, the consensus of the people, in fact, meant only the opinion of those scholars who agree with Malik, though others differed. The following points emerge out of the above discussion. In this passage, Shafi'i, the direct pupil of Malik, has explained the term al-amr al-mujtama' alayhi indana. It seems from the passage that the term ijtima' al-nas, the agreement of the people, and the term al-amr al-mujtama' alayhi indana, the agreed upon opinion according to us, and the term al-amr indana, the opinion according to us, are almost synonymous. In the passage, Rabi has used the term ijtima' al-nas, which is similar to its corresponding term in the Muwatta, al-amr al-mujtama' alayhi indana. The term which Yahya in this version of the Muwatta has applied to the doctrine, there are only 11 prostrations in the Qur'an, is al-amr indana, and Rabi has used the term ijtima' al-nas for the same doctrine in this passage. This means that according to Rabi, the term al-amr indana and the term ijtima' al-nas are synonymous, and there is no difference between the terms ijtima' al-nas and the term al-amr al-mujtama' alayhi indana, which in turn are equivalent to the terms of the Muwatta al-amr indana. Though Ashraf in principle did not believe in the consensus of Medina only, for he believed in the consensus of the scholars of the whole community, yet for the sake of an argument he does not accept the claims of consensus of Medina, but only asks for its evidence. He clearly declares that he would be satisfied with the evidence advanced only from the pure Medinese sources, and not outside of them, provided that evidence is conclusive. In this context, Shafi'i asks Rabi, so far as your claims there is consensus of the people is concerned, the people with you in Medina say there is no consensus of the people as you assume the case to be. Here Shafi'i, being a direct pupil of Malik, and knowing the detailed conditions of Medina, its scholars, their agreements, and their differences, declare that the claim of Malik was not correct, and the scholars of Medina were held different opinions on the issue. This case indicates that when Malik claims consensus of the people of Medina, it does not mean the consensus of the whole community of Medina, or the consensus of the whole body of the scholars. It shows that Malik sometimes claims consensus even though many of the scholars of Medina disagree with him. Another point which emerges out of this passage is that Malik sometimes claims consensus when actually there is no authority in Medina whom he could quote in his support. Rather, whatever evidence he can produce goes against his own claim. For example, when he says, Al-Amr indana, the opinion with us is that there are only 11 prostrations in the Qur'an, then there is nothing in the Mufassal chapters. Al-Rabi has reported Malik's term, Al-Amr indana, as ijtima' al-nas, as we have noted above. Now we must examine the evidence which Malik has produced to support his claim of consensus on this issue. In the section on the prostration of the Qur'an in the Muwatta, Malik has recorded 5 ahadith. The first 4 of these ahadith so radically go against the claim of Malik about the consensus, and the fifth has nothing to do with the number of the prostrations in the Qur'an. After relating these hadiths, Malik claims consensus on an issue which is against the evidence he has actually produced. The first hadith says that Abu Hurairah prostrated himself during his recitation of a certain chapter, and at the end of the prayer he declared that he had prostrated himself in that chapter because he had seen the Prophet doing so. This evidence goes against Malik's claim. The second hadith relates the practice of Umar ibn Khattab, that he prostrated himself twice in the chapter of Al-Hajj. In that case, the number of the prostrations in the Qur'an would be more than 11, but Malik declared a consensus that there were only 11 prostrations in the Qur'an. The third hadith confirms the second, and thus also goes against the claim of consensus by Malik. The fourth hadith tells us about the practice of Umar ibn Khattab, that he prostrated himself during the chapter of An-Najm, the star, which is again against the claim of consensus. Thus we have seen that whatever evidence Malik can produce in the Muwatta on the issue of the prostration in the Qur'an goes directly against the claim of consensus, and he has not reported a single authority to support his own view. Ash-Shafi'i has brought forth some evidence from Malik against the claim of consensus on the issue. Ash-Shafi'i says you can relate from Umar ibn Abdul Aziz that when Umar, heard about the prostration of Abu Hurairah and the practice of the Prophet in that regard, he ordered the reciters to prostrate themselves in it. Thus, Shafi has added Umar ibn Abdul Aziz to the evidence produced in the Muwatta, which is of course against the claim of consensus. From the above discussion, we conclude that Malik sometimes claims consensus when there is no authority in Medina proper, whom we could quote in his support. The whole evidence in the Muwatta on this issue, far from supporting his claim, contradicts it. That is why Ash-Shafi'i was right in the following saying: "You do not follow what you relate, and you do not name a single authority against it, and you relate prostrations from the leaders of the people, and do not relate anything against them. Is it not proper for you to say that there is consensus of the people, that there are prostrations in the Mufassal chapters?" Stay tuned for many more parts.